Now, Social 3.0 is taking place right now. I call it 3.0. It's hard to say what it really is, but it's definitely different. Social 3.0 is where Google gets involved and starts to improve the game for everyone. Let me just give you a couple examples. Their first attempt may not feel that social, but what they were doing was they're actually aggregating the way we search on the back end. How many of you have been to Google recently and seen how they actually will autofill what you're searching? Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So what's happening there is you're actually getting the thought from the whole search community on what you should be putting in, and they actually lead you can see it's a lightly gray, but they know what I'm typing. And they can actually start to suggest other searches that might match even more relevant for me. Now that was good, but it's not enough. And they started working on a few other things. One would be the custom result set. And I just want to point out the first result and the third result. You'll notice there's a little avatar that shows up below the search result. Y'all see that? Okay, so this was their next step into customizing search. And what happened was they've got a limited way to see who I'm connected with. Google had a few applications. They have Google Talk, they had Google Wave for like a month, and they have a few other applications because they wanted to understand our connections better. What they wanted to do was they wanted to pull my network out, and when I do a search, they wanted to tell me who from my network liked an article, so it would be more relevant to me. Make sense? So now when I'm looking through the search results, I can see in this case, oh yeah, Drew shared this post. Interesting. Maybe that's the right one for me. Okay? And you can start to see the connection. So in this case, Drew was in the blue circles to me. Now the problem was their reach wasn't that far. So just recently, and you may have heard about this, they launched a tool, a social network I should say, called Google+. Anyone heard of Google+ in the room? All right. Okay. Quite a few of you. So here's the amazing thing about Google+, and it kind of speaks to our appetite for social media in 2011. Here's a little chart showing the trip to 10 million users, okay? You can see Facebook took about 852 days to get to 10 million users. Twitter took about 780 days. And Google+ took about 16 days. It's insane. And you know what? And we were talking about this morning. This is a closed beta, essentially. This is purely inviting people. The only way you could get in is through invites, okay? By the way, that number doubled in the next 16 days, okay? So they got to 20 million within a month. Pretty amazing stuff. So now what they're going to use that to do is they're going to bring social into search. Okay, and I think this is really, really exciting, especially as we are trying to market our business. We're trying to market our businesses. We want to get out there in front of people. We want to do it in a cost-effective manner. Well, pay attention here because there's some really cool stuff coming up. First of all, this is a screenshot of Google+, and it's a feature called Sparks. And if you'll remember earlier, I talked about blog aggregators. It was taking all of the different blogs out there and they were bringing them together. The one problem with that, and some of them I should say, is that they were relevant, but they weren't as relevant as they could be for many reasons. Maybe they didn't have the search architecture that Google had. Maybe they didn't quite understand a social graph. But what Google+ does in Sparks, to me, is absolutely amazing. This is essentially the cream of the crop from the content that in my network is sharing. So what I'm telling you is you can go into Google+ today, and your network, we're calling it the people rank effect, can vote the best content up by simply sharing it. Now you can come in, put in any keywords you want, it searches through that content and displays it for you. So what you're getting is really the best results on any given topic, in my opinion. Now this is one interesting thing, but I think it gets more exciting. The other thing they let you do is create a profile. Now, Google profiles aren't new by any means, but now they're tightly integrated with Google+. So when you go back to your office today and you try to create your Google+ account, I want you to do a couple things that I'm going to mention here. And if you don't know how to get into Google+, I have some business cards up here. Call me. I'll send you an invite. I might have enough. All right, so basically what happens here on this Google profile is a couple things. I can link back to my sites, so whether that's my blog site, my website, I can have a profile with links. But what's amazing to me is that they let these links get indexed. And let me break that down and tell you what that means. When you want your website to show up on Google, one thing that's going to help it is the more people that link into you, right? Okay? We're going to call those links into your website essentially a vote of confidence. Somebody's saying, you know what, that's a good site. We want to vote it up. What I'm telling you that you can do from your Google profile is set links to your sites from Google. You think Google has authority? Yeah, it's like pretty much like outside of a government website, it's like one of the best links you can get. So I'm going to tell you to create a profile on Google Plus and link out to the sites that are relevant to you. So your website, your blog site. And on the right-hand side here, I linked out to all of my profiles, okay? Now, why is this important? Well, it turns out these profiles, highly optimized. When you search your name, it's likely to be the very first thing found on Google. Unless you're like, I don't know, Mike Johnson. You might have a difficult time because the competition is high. Thank you, Dad, for naming me Reggie Nicolay. So basically, though, that very first result up there is my Google profile. You're going to notice it brings in my avatar and the links that I linked out to, Realtors Property Resource, the blog. Look at them, all exposed at the top of Google, okay? So that showed up about 24 hours after I created the profile. So pretty amazing. It gets better. Now, 2 weeks ago, you can tell I'm really excited about this stuff, right? So about 2 weeks ago, Google said, well, how can we up the ante? How can we make search more social? And they did something that I think is just revolutionary and that I bet each one of you will want to go back and do. And that is the fact that they let you now, in the search results, have your photo show up next to any content you create, okay? And so let me just explain why this is powerful. So imagine this. You're in a local neighborhood and you're creating content. Let's just say it's on the form of a blog. You're writing about local market trends, you're writing about local businesses, whatever you're doing, you're talking about your local area, right? We found that's a really good thing to do in social media. It's a passive way to get people to come to your site and learn about you. So that means when your local consumers are doing searches, they're going to see your avatar to the right of your results. So you're essentially getting face branding time on organic searches happening across Google, okay? So it also makes certain content stand out more. Would you agree? Yeah. Now, I had to go into the social media. You'll notice the search, social media for business. Nobody's doing this yet, so the only people that are doing it is actually like Mashable and a few other sites. So it was hard for me to find. In the real estate space, it's wide open. Nobody's doing this yet. So how do you get it? How do you get it done? Okay, I'm going to tell you a couple steps to get this done. It's slightly technical, but it doesn't require a whole heck of a lot. When you are on your profile, this page in Google Plus, you're going to notice the links on the right-hand side. Okay. Any of you brokers in the room, pay attention because this could work on a broker site. So basically, you're going to want to have the individual whose profile this is link back to the page they're creating content on. So anybody that said they were blogging, this is perfect for you. Go ahead and link back in these links to the author page on your blog, let's say. Okay? And if you don't have a blog and you have a corporate website, you can do the same. But you got to link back to a place where that is an individual profile page of that user. Okay? So now we've got a one-way link going from Google Plus to your site. Now on your site, you have to link back to your Google Plus profile. Okay? So now what's happened is there's a full circle essentially. So Google can see the link, they have one of their web crawlers follow it to your site, and then they follow the link that you set to go right back to your Google profile. When that happens, they've verified you as a human. They now know what content you've created, okay, because you've associated it with your author page. Did I lose you? Good. Woo! So that's as technical as it gets. Once you set up that relationship, everything you create thereafter is going to be associated with your avatar on Google search results. The cost, $0. So now what I'm telling you is when folks are doing those local searches in your market area, you're going to be visually identified. So I'm calling this the visual search cues of search, and this is where we get search social. At the same time, what we're seeing in search is location marketing picking up. How many folks have heard of Foursquare? So the whole idea with this is, I mentioned this earlier in my presentation, search results have been irrelevant for a lot of reasons, but when you talk about local search, it's irrelevant because honestly, it's not tied into your local proximity. It's not right here. It's too far away. So location search has hit the scene. Most of it's happening from your mobile devices. And the way this works is it says, I am here, what's around me? So people are using this obviously in let's just dining. You're eating out. You want to know, I'm standing here, what restaurants are next to me? And it's going to auto-populate the screen with maybe the 10 restaurants that are in walking proximity to you, and you can make a quick search, quick choice of those. Now what we're seeing, how we're seeing real estate agents actually take advantage of this is when they're in their local area, they're also using these tools. We'll use Foursquare because that's the kind of the gem of the group. There's a bunch of other ones out there, and they're coming out every day. What agents are starting to do is they're actually starting to leave tips in Foursquare. So say you go out to dinner and you bring out your phone and you say on Foursquare, I am here, and it identifies you at a given restaurant. And let's just say you had a wonderful meal. You have some tip to share. You quickly write out that tip, and now that tip is associated with that point, that geography. And as consumers come to that restaurant and do the same thing, guess whose face pops up with a tip on their mobile phone? Yours. So again, more visual cues for locals in your area. So the trouble though with this technology is it's hard to scale, right? But if you're into hyper-local niche marketing, say your farm area, what a great strategy. You can use it in your day-to-day life and just simply give tips and your best thoughts on the local geography. Tips on parks, tips on places to get away, whatever it is. And by the way, I think I mentioned this, but location is driven by mobile. And if you ask marketers and you say, are you going to be using this technology in the future? It's pretty interesting to see there's still a huge chunk that says they have no interest in utilizing it just yet. But look at the increase there. 30% say they're going to go ahead and implement that in the future.